Hey, Dan here with another video. Today's video is about the Vibrate function on eCollars. To me, the Vibrate function is one of the most misunderstood and most overused options on an eCollar, and I'm going to explain why today and also what I think is the appropriate use of the Vibrate function. It seems that I get calls on a regular basis where when I get on the subject of eCollars, people tell me they already have one, but don't worry about it, they're only using the Vibrate function. Most of these people really don't understand how eCollars work or how training works or any of that. They certainly don't understand anything about timing. So before we get into that, let's put the way that dogs perceive the Vibrate function into three basic categories. I know these could be divided up into smaller categories, but just for the sake of argument, let's divide them into three categories. Okay, so the first category, you have where the vibration is truly neutral. Now, the people using these Vibrate functions often think that it's being truly neutral to the dog, but if it's truly neutral, your dog does nothing, so why would you hit the button, right? So basically, you put on the collar and you hit the button, and the dog maybe feels it, but it's such a inert stimulus that the dog says, yeah, I don't care, whatever, and he doesn't even turn his head, okay? So then the next category of dog is the type of dog where it is an aversive initially, but then every time you use it, it wears off more and more, and then the dog eventually becomes like the first category. And I would say that is the biggest category that you'll find with pet dogs, where initially they don't like it very much, and it's something very novel, and they don't know what to do about it, and some dogs will return to the owner. And, the people doing this think this is wonderful, they're not hurting their dog, and then they think they have it all figured out. So the third category of dog now is the dog that totally melts down when they feel the vibration. The people that have run out and bought the cheap collar where the dog melts down, they might not even understand that their dog's melting down because they don't know how to read a dog. And their thinking is, well, it's only vibration, it can't do any physical damage. Well, guess what? Neither can stimulation. So what have you accomplished? They're thinking, well, it's less of an aversive. Well, I've personally seen dogs where I've been doing some eCollar training with, and low-level stimulation, and the dog takes to the training very well. And then we try to experiment with something, a classical conditioning, just to show the owner some other uses of the eCollar, where I start to use vibration, and the dog's totally freaked out by it. And I'm there, okay, no more of this. I realize that if you worked at it hard enough, you could pair that, pleasant stimulus of getting a reward with the negative of the vibration, and eventually a lot of dogs would overcome it, but in most cases it's not worth it. So I think what these owners fail to understand is perspective. So let me give you an analogy. Say there's somebody that's gone to war, they suffer from PTSD, and they're trying to live a normal life, and the owner decides to shoot off fireworks. Okay, so most people enjoy fireworks where, there's a pop and a bang and there's some bright light, and, people would argue, what's the harm in that? Well, again, if you've been conditioned via environment, those fireworks might bring back some very bad memories. You can have a very tough individual that now finds themselves curled up in their closet crying. Perspective is everything. And again, with classical conditioning, if you don't understand that, you can't wrap your head around how all this works. Well, same thing for that dog, where the vibration stimulus can be infinitely worse than getting a low to medium level stimulation. So again, now one more problem that you run into with this. So in the case where the owner has run out, bought the cheap collar on Amazon, they're using as anywhere from a mild aversive, in the case of the dog that eventually toughens up to it, to the extreme aversive, their timing's horrible. So because these people can't even work a clicker, they don't understand about the importance of immediacy in timing, and that's why all of the people that train with me, they need to learn how to do marker training first before they ever touch an eCollar. And it's unfortunate that some trainers stick an eCollar in an owner's hand before the owners ever demonstrated that they understand timing and learn to acquire that, or have acquired that skill. So they now begin to make a mess of their dogs because the timing's way off. The other big problem with these cheap eCollars is often their timing that's built into the collar is really bad. Like you hit the button and it takes 1,000, 2,000, and now it'll begin to vibrate or stimulate. You have an owner with bad timing, you have a piece of equipment that's going to deliver bad timing, you end up with a confused dog that doesn't even know why he's being corrected. The other big problem with the people that use Vibrate, where it's maybe not a severe aversive to the dog, is that they constantly nag the dog every little thing. They're hitting vibrate, vibrate, vibrate. Ask any henpecked husband. A life of nagging is no way to live. The people that train with me, we're going to use low-level stimulation, low to medium, and then we're going to increase the level of distraction. And at some point, it's going to become a meaningful correction, with the goal being that the remote will spend most of its time in the handler's pocket and not in a handler's hand where they're constantly hitting buttons. All of these people that are worried about eCollar bands, trust me, when people are walking around where it looks like the remote's glued to their hand and they're constantly hitting the button, you're not improving the image of eCollars. Okay, so now having covered all that, let me give you a couple examples of vibration where I approve of it by people that know what they're doing. The first example is where you use it as a warning. So I can hear a lot of people jumping up and down that have these cheap eCollars saying, well, that's what I do. And no, you don't. Hear me out. Let me use as an example a friend of mine that lives in the UK. He personally owns 8 or 9 dogs. His dogs, most of them were death row dogs. Some of them were confirmed sheep killers. Others had or have extreme aggression issues. He gives them a pretty good life, and guess what? He goes out in the moors in England where there's lots of sheep, and the way he's using as a warning is that his dogs have been previously trained. They start to look at something they're not supposed to. He gives them a warning. Guess what? They didn't obey the warning. He now immediately goes to a high level, so that he's not constantly nagging the dog and perhaps toughening up the dog to the stimulation to the point where it won't even be of any more use. This gentleman is very honest with the message that he delivers to his clients. He's not very expensive compared to the competition. He truly has these dogs' best interests at heart. I fully support the way he trains, even though it's different than what I do. Okay, so the other place you might want to use Vibrate is if you truly understand how to do this and you have a dog where it's not a serious aversive, you can classically condition the dog that when you vibrate, it means that the dog's going to get some food. So where would you use that? Say your dog was out in your backyard at night and he's barking, you're worried he's going to wake up the neighbors. You simply pick up your eCollar remote. Your dog's been trained that when he feels the vibrate, it means he's going to get a tasty snack. You hit the vibrate button, silent whistle effect. He comes running back to the house. He comes in the house. You give him the snack. The dog wins. The owner wins because, the neighbor's not going to be upset and the neighbor gets his sleep. So there's a win-win scenario. Again, classical conditioning. If you don't understand what classical conditioning is, don't even try that yourself. Get somebody else to help you out. It's not a hard concept, and it doesn't take very long to teach a dog to do that. The underlying message here is I'm trying to promote responsible eCollar use. I don't want to see an embattled tool further tarnished. And a lot of these people running out and buying these cheap collars and hitting vibrate all the time, sometimes you're talking yourself into bad things. You might think that because the vibrate worked 20 times in your yard, that now you can take your dog out in the field. Now your dog sees a rabbit, your dog starts to run after the rabbit. All of a sudden you're hitting vibrate. Guess what? It's not stopping your dog because it's not enough of an aversive. A lot of these collars, you can't change the level of vibration on the fly. So now that the owner's panicked, he now hits stimulation. Well, on these cheap collars that don't have very many levels, now you're blasting the dog with a high level, even at level 1 sometimes. If your dog hasn't been given any understanding of what to do when he feels that high level, he very well could take off in the woods in a panic. And in the case of the person that's steadfast and only using vibrate, now that rabbit's headed for the road and so is your dog. Please consult with a professional trainer, learn how to use these tools properly. And if your trainer doesn't ever talk to you about proofing, about, scenarios where you might need higher levels and the caveats and things that can go wrong, please find another trainer. There's too many trainers out there that are just telling clients what they want to hear, that is eCollar is only ever a cell phone call communication and all of this nonsense. Look, it's an aversive. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable and in some scenarios even painful. That's what it's designed to do. That's what it's supposed to do. Stop with this politicization where you're, if that's even a word, where you're constantly trying to, paint it to be something that it's not. If you're claiming it's only communication, well, guess what? You can use your mouth. I can send you a video of a border collie that understands over 1,000 words. That's communication. You can use a whistle for communication. If all it's doing is getting your dog's attention, whistle blasts do the same thing. Why spend $200? Anyways, that's it for today's video. For those that have subscribed, thank you very much. And again, I hope to see you in the next one.